Hi, everyone. Today we're diving into something that affects every single one of us, 3 times a day, every single day of our lives: the way we eat. If you felt a bit lost over the last few decades trying to follow official nutrition advice, you are definitely not alone. For years, the guidance felt a bit, well, upside down. We were told to be terrified of fats while loading up on heart-healthy grains that were often just highly processed white flour in disguise. Meanwhile, as we followed those old rules, we watched rates of diabetes, obesity, and heart disease skyrocket across the country. But I have some good news for you. We are finally seeing a massive, historic pivot in the new U.S. dietary guidelines. We're moving away from the era of chemical-laden boxes and putting real food back at the absolute center of the American plate. This isn't just a minor tweak to a brochure, it's a total overhaul designed to shift our entire food system away from merely managing sickness and toward building genuine resilience, energy, and long-term health. 1. The death of nutritionism and the return to whole foods. The absolute biggest change, and honestly the most important one for your daily life, is the aggressive new focus on whole, unprocessed foods. In the past, the guidelines were obsessed with what scientists call nutritionism, this idea that food is just a delivery vehicle for isolated nutrients like fiber, potassium, or fortified vitamins. This was a huge loophole for big food companies. They could take a sugary processed cereal, spray on some synthetic vitamins, and call it healthy because it met certain technical checkboxes. The new guidelines finally close that loophole. The message now is loud and clear: prioritize the food itself. We're being encouraged to reach for things that actually look like what they are: real fruits, vegetables, grass-fed meats, full-fat dairy, legumes, and nuts. By reducing our reliance on industrially processed products, we are attacking the root of chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. It's a simple but revolutionary idea that cuts through the noise. If it comes from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a mechanical plant, you should probably skip it. 2. High-quality protein as a metabolic requirement. Another huge win in this update is the significantly higher emphasis on quality protein. For a long time, protein was treated like an afterthought or something only bodybuilders needed to worry about. But the science has caught up, and we now recognize that protein is the literal building block of a functional, metabolic body. The new guidance suggests a significant bump in daily intake, roughly 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for most adults. This is a game changer for longevity. Keeping your protein intake high is essential for maintaining muscle mass as you age, which is your best defense against metabolic slowdown. It also helps prevent sarcopenia, which is that age-related muscle loss that leads to frailty and loss of independence in our later years. By focusing on nutrient-dense protein sources at every single meal, you're not just staying full and satisfied longer, you're giving your body the raw materials it needs to repair your tissues and keep your fire burning. 3. Ending the low-fat era. Speaking of things we used to be afraid of, let's talk about the end of the low-fat era. The new guidelines have finally, officially moved past the blanket fat is bad messaging that dominated the 1990s. We essentially traded healthy fats for heart-stopping sugars. Now the focus has shifted to encouraging healthy fats within the context of whole foods. We're talking about the gold standard: extra virgin olive oil, avocados, wild-caught seafood, nuts, and seeds. These fats aren't just not bad, they are critical for your brain health, your hormone production, and your body's ability to actually absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. While the guidelines still suggest being mindful of saturated fats, the narrative has evolved from a fear-based avoid all fat to an empowering fat is an essential tool for a healthy brain. 4. A hard line against added sugars and refined carbohydrates. Perhaps the most aggressive and arguably most necessary change is the new hard line drawn against added sugars and refined carbohydrates. For years, the messaging on sugar was a little wishy-washy, but the evidence is now undeniable. Sugar is the primary driver of fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, and chronic inflammation. The new guidance is much more stringent, urging Americans to hunt down and eliminate those hidden sugars found in everything from salad dressings to so-called healthy snack bars and sodas. This is probably the fastest way for the average person to see a radical change in how they feel on a daily basis. When you stabilize your blood sugar by cutting out the refined junk, your energy levels stop crashing, your mood stabilizes, and your brain fog starts to lift. It simplifies the whole "what should I eat" headache into a very actionable mantra: eat real food. This clarity reduces the nutrition noise and actually aligns more with traditional dietary wisdom that our grandparents lived by before the rise of the ultra-processed era. 5. Embracing individual bio-individuality. What makes these guidelines truly modern, however, is that they finally ditch the one-size-fits-all pyramid model. We're seeing a massive shift toward personalized dietary guidance. Let's be real, a 20-year-old elite athlete and a 70-year-old retiree have completely different metabolic needs and digestive capacities. The old way of thinking tried to put everyone in the same box, but the new approach acknowledges that your diet should be tailored to your specific age, your activity level, and your unique health goals. This is a massive victory for holistic medicine because it treats us like individuals rather than just data points on a chart. It recognizes that our biology is unique and our plates should reflect that. Whether you're managing a specific condition or just trying to optimize your energy for a busy job, the guidelines now give you the permission to adjust the framework to fit your life rather than forcing your life to fit a rigid, outdated chart. 6. Targeting the drivers of chronic disease. Because the focus has shifted towards whole foods and metabolic health, these guidelines are finally targeting the actual drivers of chronic disease rather than just managing the symptoms. By addressing the big four, obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease through the lens of nutrient density and inflammation reduction, we are moving towards a more preventative form of healthcare. The old guidelines were often reactive, but this new direction is proactive. It understands that if we fix the fuel, we can often fix the machine. This shift has the potential to save billions in healthcare costs, but more importantly, it has the potential to save millions of lives by preventing these lifestyle-driven diseases before they ever require a prescription bottle. It's about building a body that is resilient enough to handle the stresses of modern life. 7. Transforming public and federal nutrition. Now, you might be thinking, that's great for my grocery list, but does it really change anything on a big scale? The answer is a resounding yes, and here is why. These guidelines are the North Star for federal nutrition programs. We're talking about the food served to millions of children in school lunches, the meals provided to our men and women in the military, and the federal feeding programs for our seniors. When the guidelines change, the food on those trays changes. This move towards nutrient density means that a child in a public school might soon be getting real, whole food proteins instead of processed nuggets. It means our veterans and seniors could have access to meals that actually support their recovery and cognitive health. This is how we move the needle for the entire country, by ensuring that the most vulnerable populations are getting the highest quality nourishment possible. Finally, the 8th and perhaps most underrated benefit is the simplification of the message. For too long, nutrition science felt like it required a PhD just to navigate the cereal aisle. The Eat Real Food narrative removes the gatekeeping and makes health recommendations actionable for everyone, regardless of their background. It's a return to common sense. When we shift our focus to nourishment, resilience, and long-term health, the anxiety around eating starts to disappear. We stop counting every single calorie and start counting the quality of our ingredients. In summary, we are witnessing a historic shift towards true metabolic health. By prioritizing real foods, balancing our proteins and fats, and slashing the sugar, we're finally giving ourselves a fighting chance against the modern health crisis. Of course, remember that these guidelines are a framework. They should always be paired with personalized care and the advice of your own healthcare professional. But as a starting point for a healthier, more vibrant America, it's a massive step in the right direction.
If this video helped you, please subscribe to join our holistic health community. My mission is to help you live a life full of vitality and free from chronic diseases. Thanks for watching.